When I'm starting a new piece, I often struggle to find a way into thinking about the music. And with this piece, it was the instruments themselves and their qualities which gave me a way into writing the piece. It's for flute, clarinet, piano, violin and cello. And I found myself thinking, well, who's the odd one out in this ensemble? And it seemed that in many ways it's the piano. The piano is absolutely huge physically compared to all the other instruments. It can create a massive sound and it can play more notes at one time than any of the others. But on the other hand, the other instruments have an advantage over the piano as well, because they can make a note sustain, they can make a note grow louder, a long note play louder as it goes, in a way that the piano can't, because the piano sound is dying away from the moment the key has been depressed. And so the other instruments can sing in a lyrical way, which the piano never can. And the thought about how do we compensate for this, how do we get around this, how do we allow the piano to sing, was a really important idea that animated me as I was writing the piece. And it led me to think about visual arts, sculpture, photography, drawing, and the way in drawing, if you think about a dot being a little bit like a very short musical sound, well, if you put lots of dots next door to each other, you can make something which looks like a line. And in the same way, in music, if you put lots of short notes next to each other, you can create a sort of warbling line. And on the piano, if you put the pedal down and play a single note repeatedly in quick succession, you can create a sound which can endure and get louder. And this kind of warbling sonority is really important in Phoenix. It comes a lot. And in fact, the other instruments, the flute, clarinet, violin and cello, imitate it, and that is actually how the piece begins. It begins with those four instruments on their own, and they're ambushed by the piano, which bursts in like someone bursting through a door with this very strident, forceful music, which silences the other instruments for quite a while, and it's some time before they're able to find their way back into the piece. Over the two movements of the piece, there is this power struggle which moves one way and the other, then the other, until eventually there's a reconciliation and resolution at the end. Phoenix was commissioned by Henry Greenfield for his then wife Joanna, originally as a present. But as I was writing the piece, she became very, very ill, and very sadly she died before I finished work on the piece. So inevitably it became a memorial for her, and I couldn't help thinking about the relationship between the piano sound which dies away and which is given away to endure, and the idea of a memorial which endures after someone has passed away. It seems amazing that that was 20 years ago, and it's been wonderful to have the opportunity to see the piece played by more than one ensemble in that time, and it will be really wonderful to hear how Hard Rain bring it to life again next week.